Hidden in this rockery is a relief. It depicts a beautiful gulf. This was the scene of the city Shantou in the 1930s.
Hello, I'm Yan Yan. I'm in Shantou, Guangdong province. After China lost the Second Opium War, Shantou was forced to open up to Western countries. Many Hakka people and Chaoshan people migrated to Southeast Asia from here. Meanwhile, it soon became a metropolitan in East Guangdong province. Shantou's success was based on successfully leveraging foreign investment, mainly from the overseas Chinese. Today, through the historical buildings in Shantou, let's get to know the city and its story.
Shantou is a coastal city in the Chaoshan Plain in East Guangdong province. The Han River that flows through the plain splits into three branches when it approaches the ocean. The Rong River also flows through the west side of this plain. Since the 18th century, people living in the plain traveled via the rivers to the coastal ports and then to Southeast Asia. That's why Chaoshan people is a big group among overseas Chinese. In the 19th century, Shantou, which was originally a beach in a gulf, became part of the Singapore, Bangkok, Hong Kong, and the Shantou trade system. I started my trip with visiting the exhibition about the opening of Shantou port. In 1858, as the British and French fleets approached Tianjin, the Qing government was forced to sign unequal treaties with the Western imperial countries. The first treaty signed was with the U.S. This document that was sarcastically named Treaty of Peace, Amity, and Commerce between United States and China stipulated that the citizens of the United States are permitted to frequent the ports and the cities of Canton and Chaozhou or Swatow in the province Guangdong. Swatow is how Shantou is pronounced in local dialect. On January 1st, 1860, with presence of representatives from both the Qing government and the U.S. government, a new customs was opened in Mayu Island in the Gulf. In the ensuing years, Britain, France, Russia, and other Western countries also gained access to Shantou.
It feels really nice here. Today, it's a park for residents to hang out and exercise. But a century and a half ago, this was the place of docks built by Western companies such as the Swatow Group. The customs was also right there behind the coastal avenue, but it was also the customs of Western countries. The Qing government didn't have the right to collect the tax here.
This is the map of Shantou in 1909. There were a series of docks along the northern shore of the Gulf. These three belong to Taikoo Shipping Company, a British company known as the Swatow Group today. On the bank were the warehouse of Taikoo, and the buildings had the traditional Chaoshan style. A different angle, heavy smoke coming out of the chimney of the steamboat. These two docks were for river transportation within the Chaoshan region. During the 18th century to mid-19th century, Chaoshan people traveled with sailboats or even rafts. In late 19th century, steamboats gradually replaced the sailboats. In 1890, a Chaoshan merchant opened a shipping company with routes between Shantou and other river ports along the Rhone River. More and more companies entered this market. Routes were even extended to the hilly Hakka regions to the north of the Chaoshan Plain. The Chinese workers took steamboats from various river ports to Shantou and switched to the boats that would take them abroad. This is where the steamboats enter the ocean. During 1914 to 1937, Taikoo Shipping Company alone had 2 regular shifts for the Singapore, Malaysia, and the Indonesia route each week. They also had 2 shifts to Thailand every week. Each ship could carry hundreds to 1,000 passengers. Oftentimes, the ships were full. As a foreign company, Taikoo relied on local people to acquire business. One Chaoshan people excelled in this. This building was the office of the agency he established, Taikoo Nanji. In 1890, he signed an indefinite contract with Taikoo and became the exclusive agency of the routes between Shantou and the Southeast Asian ports. The contract stipulated a 5% commission on freight transportation and 10% on passenger transportation. Taikoo Nanji even opened branch offices in Singapore and Bangkok. This avenue used to be a coastal avenue. In 1886, a second-generation Chaoshan merchant from Thailand organized 20 exporters in Shantou to form a chamber of commerce on this avenue, majoring in exporting of local food and fruits to Southeast Asia. It was the earliest chamber of commerce in Shantou, and it grew so fast that it soon became the dominant chamber of commerce in the city. As a successful city, Shantou attracted talents and investments beyond the Chaoshan region. Hakka people from the hilly region to the north of the Chaoshan Plain were also heavily involved in the development of the city.
This was downtown Shantou. As Shantou became more and more prosperous, many overseas Chinese found business opportunities here. The department store behind me was established by a group of overseas Chinese, specifically overseas Hakka.
In 1928, a Hakka from Singapore was on his way to his ancestral village in Meixian. He stayed in Shantou for a few days and learned that the city government was renovating this area and planned to make it a new business district. With an accurate business mind, he bought 7 consecutive houses in this area. After the 7 houses were torn down, a whole new 7-story building was built here in 1932. It became the site of his Nanshan Corporation. Several of his clansmen in Singapore were also the shareholders. On the first and second floors was a department store. This was an ad of Nanshan Corporation. It listed items sold on each floor. The slogan boasted the company searches products made across China and from around the world. On the third and fourth floors was one of the 4 best restaurants in Shantou, Central Restaurant. This was one of the private dining rooms. On the 5th and 6th floors was a hotel. This was the view of the rooftop on the 6th floor. On the top floor was a dining room serving Western-style cuisine, and this was the view of the rooftop above the dining room. An elevator was installed on the 1st to the 4th floors. It was the first elevator in Shantou and created a sensation. On the opposite side of the square was another big department store. There were 4 major department stores in Shantou. 3 were invested by overseas Chinese. This was the stock certificate of one of the companies. Real estate was another area that overseas Chinese invested. One family from Thailand built over 400 buildings in downtown area and owned 200 shops. Over half of the buildings in Shantou were owned by overseas Chinese. For thousands of years, the ultimate goal of Chinese is to be landlords. Who doesn't want to sit on the couch and have stable cash flows coming in? This 8-story building was one of the 4 top restaurants in town. The restaurant had the best chefs of Chaoshan cuisine and was famous for its interior design. During the peak of prosperity, there were over 120 hotels in Shantou. The 2 characters of Hotel Shantou gained so much popularity recently among young people that this place became the most Instagrammable site in town. Look at the crowd. Everyone was trying to get a good photo here. This building was the site of the company that manufactured Tiger Balm, a type of ointment popular in Southeast Asia and China. It was established by 2 Hakka brothers from Myanmar. This was their drugstore in Yangon. To promote their product Tiger Balm, the brothers started a series of newspapers in Singapore, Hong Kong, Xiamen, and Shantou. The office of the newspaper in Shantou was a few blocks away, in this building. Although their initial intention was just to promote their products without paying advertisement fees, with the series of influential newspapers, the brothers became media tycoons. During the Qin dynasty, townsmen associations were very popular in commercial hubs in China. There were organizations for people from the same region to socialize and network. There were various townsmen associations in Shantou. Dabu Association was one of them. Dabu is a Hakka county to the north of Chaoshan region in the upper reach of the Han River. There are a lot of people from Dabu living in the Chaoshan Plain and abroad. Overseas Chinese also invested in capital-intensive industries. On the relief I showed you in the beginning of the video, there is a railway track. It refers to the railway between Shantou and Chaozhou, completed in 1906. It was financed by 2 brothers from Songkou of Meixian who worked their way up to be the wealthiest family in Medan of Indonesia. The Chaoshan Railway became the first privately operated railway in China and contributed to the prosperity of Shantou. During high seasons, each day, 4,000 people traveled via this railroad and 19 tons of goods were transported. The Chaoshan Railway was destroyed in 1939 when Japanese occupied Shantou. Most business in town was also destroyed during the occupation of Japanese. Unfortunately, even after the Second World War, Shantou was not able to recover its status in the international trade because the factors that contributed to its success did not exist anymore. Before leaving Shantou, I boarded a cruise golf ship that leaves every 15 minutes. For local residents, it's one of their everyday commuting methods. For tourists like me, it's a good angle to look at this beautiful city. I highly recommend it if you also visit Shantou. Reflecting on the history I learned in Shantou and its ups and downs, I have some thoughts on the Chinese economy. The factors that contributed to Shantou's success are actually the same factors for China's current economic success. They are: number 1, opening up and integrating into the world economy. The words at the beginning of the exhibition lingered in my mind. From forced opening up to proactive opening up. That's what China has been doing since 40 years ago. Number 2, running the economy from market approach. This resource allocation system creates incentive and efficiency. Shantou and China tried different approaches but failed. While implementing market economy, it's also important not to overlook the market failures. Amid doubts that we all read in the press, I believe as long as China sticks to these principles, it's on the right track. As Joseph Knight from McKinsey recently claimed, for global investors who are looking for growth, the next China is China. In the next video, I'll visit Chaozhou, another major city in the Chaoshan region. What does Chaozhou have to do with Thailand? Why was the river that flows through the city named Han River? Why does the bridge that's over the Han River have a floating section? Follow my camera, you would fall in love with the city and want to visit it. I'm Yan Yan. I make videos about sites of interest in China and histories and stories behind them. Subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time in Chaozhou.